Hello and welcome to our LinkedIn Live. I am so excited to have these amazing guests with me today. My name is Teresa Cargo. I'm the founder and CEO of AchieveUnite. And we love our LinkedIn Lives as we share these exciting topics. And today's topic is about this incredible resurgence of strategic alliances. What is driving this growth? Why is this happening? And so let me introduce my esteemed guests. So Ray, introduce yourself.
I thought you were going to introduce me.
Oh gosh. And by the way, they promised me they're going to be funny today, you guys.
We're going to try. We're going to do our best to try. So I'm Ray Komar. I'm Vice President of Cloud and Technology Alliances at Tenable.
Awesome. And Scott?
Hey, Scott Gorey here calling in from San Jose. I lead partners and alliances for Optiv.
And Sean Phillips.
All right. Yeah. Thanks, Teresa. Great to be here. Sean Phillips, work for Arctic Wolf. I lead alliances for Arctic Wolf.
And I really wanted you all on because each of you bring these different lenses of the dynamics that we're seeing change in the market around strategic alliances. So let's jump in. Let's talk about why are strategic alliances gaining so much attention again? What are you guys seeing in the arena of this evolution?
Tell me that was yours, Teresa.
Well, Teresa's got a dog.
Sure, it was mine, yeah.
Mine just started barking in the background.
They all heard it. That's right. All right. Who wants to kick us off? Sean, you want to kick us off?
Sure. Yeah, I think. Oh man. So what's triggering the focus? I think as organizations are growing and are evolving, they tend to approach the market in various ways, right? You've got a lot of experience on here in different pockets. So I know Scott has some distribution experience. You've got Ray, who's representing another security ISV specifically, and then Arctic Wolf as like an ISV. There's different ways to look at this. Some are channel focused, like Arctic Wolf is 100% channel. So for us, alliances was an important go-to-market motion that we didn't want to leave completely unstaffed and just on the table. We thought that there was some real potential there. We didn't know what it was, but we thought there was a lot of potential there. And we staffed up a team starting about 5.5 years ago. And that team has started to iterate and evolve and try to find what value we can drive through the channel in our specific type of model. So we, as an organization, we have a closed distribution model, and then we also are 100% channel. And so layering in alliances to that to add value, that's not easy. It takes a lot of conversations, a lot of trust building. It takes a lot of, as these guys will probably attest from their journeys too, a lot of unique conversations with other partners to make sure that they understand the complexities of the go-to-market motion and what they need to do to add value, and vice versa. How can we add value to them? Historically, there was the value story that you would start with from an alliances perspective, and you would have to build off of that, and you have to find some way to generate outcomes, whether they were for current customers or for net new prospects. But at any rate, over the last 5.5 years, we've iterated multiple times on what that should look like, and we're frankly still iterating because the market just keeps shifting. But for the most part, we found a fairly good path forward, and for us, it's largely focused on CSPs and a smaller group of tech alliances that we're driving go-to-market outcomes through and with. So we've got about 18 people that are working with different partners, partnered with the channel to make sure that we're enhancing the channel's value and driving a good story. But that's how we're doing it, and that's kind of a really high level of how we got there.
That's great. And I know we're going to talk about hyperscalers because they are a huge part of this as well. Okay, Ray, share with us what your view is, because I know you come at it from a slightly different lens, which is why I really wanted you to be on.
Yeah, thanks. So, I sort of look at alliances in a traditional sense, or how it's traditionally defined, is technology alliances, right? If you look at the different facets of partnerships, there's tech alliances / integrations, there's managed services and systems integration type partners, more of those service-oriented partners. And then there's what I refer to as traditional two-tier distribution channel. Like Scott, that's where you would fit in. Sean, you'd be more on the services side for us. So I'm responsible for the tech alliances, which is mostly technology-oriented integrations. And then 7 years ago, the hyperscalers came onto the scene, at least as it relates to Tenable, and I took that on as well in my team. And Sean, like you, we're 100% channel as well, as Scott, you're well aware of, right? And so we've split the pursuit of these routes to market into 3 buckets. My bucket, tech and cloud. traditional two-tier distribution channel, and then our service provider partners as well, like Sean would be. For me, on the technical side, I think it all starts from the customer. I think as the number of technology solutions increases, you got to have more of a holistic view on the data. It's one of the reasons we're moving into exposure management, right? To try and pull those data elements together to do that. It's all powered by integration. So that was where it all started. And then the cloud stuff was slightly different. There's a little bit of that build motion, but a lot of it is more in the co-sell, co-market, and the transactional of the marketplace.
Fantastic. So you can see we're coming at it from a different lens. So Scott, now you layer on, you went to Optiv, how long ago from the vendor space? 1 year ago.
1 year ago, exactly.
What is your view of strategic alliances coming at it from the voice of the partner?
Well, first, I would only agree to be on here if both of the other participants were 100% channels. So we checked that box. I'm all in. But I've spent my career on the other side of the channel with Ray and Sean on that side. Coming to this side, there's some new learnings living in this side. And not only do we do the technology resale, but we have a massive services and managed service practice. So understanding the customer and what they're looking for that better together story, things operating together to make their lives easier, and then to maximize the investment. They've made investment in technologies, selling them other things that just pair together. That's what our customers are looking for. And a lot of those conversations start with, your team's product management and you're building technology integrations.
Mm-hmm.
Those are great. But now how do you take those technology integrations and make them go to market motions and sales campaigns and the better together story where both of you guys are coming together and say, hey, we're going to do joint demand gen and campaigns and build, pipeline together. That's where the true win is, and not just, hey, our stuff works together and we've got API connections, which is, that's table stakes, but now we need to go to market motion together.
Yeah, spot on. That's foundational. That powers the go to market motion. Otherwise, why are we talking to each other and why are we going to the customer together to talk to them?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think, what we've seen over the last 2 years, I think the hyperscalers are one of those things that has made this motion be so important is, I think, Scott, you and I were talking about it yesterday, like the transactional channel, it's just not enough anymore. And these relationships have to get intertwined at so many levels across the companies in order to really drive revenue. And so we used to talk about strategic alliances in this old world, and then it just kind of faded away. And I can see that it is really coming back in a much bigger way, looking a little different, with a new face, a new lipstick. Well, lipstick, not for you guys. Okay, disregard lipstick. So, all right. So what do you wish vendors understood better when approaching you, Scott? And then we're going to start talking about the differentiators between tech and strategic alliances.
This is a great question, and I reapplied my lipstick in between, so I'm ready. Understanding where they are in their journey. So I'm talking to ISVs, understanding where they are in their maturity curve. It's, hey, I'm a new ISV, new OEM, I'm pre-revenue. Are they ready for the scale of an Optiv? I have 2,500 employees, massive services practice, massive install base that we work with. Are they ready for our type of scale? And so understanding that self-assessment of where you are as an OEM as you come to approach Optiv. And it may be where, we're one of the few in our space that we can have a national conversation and do a go-to-market on a national basis. But if you're early stage, you're not ready for that. It may be let's have a regional conversation and really build something up, build some momentum, do some win wires, and then the fear of missing out takes place and the other regions take hold. But understanding that kind of self-awareness of where you are as a vendor and how to best engage and what you're looking for. Are you ready for a managed service practice with us? Are you ready for us to do professional services for you? Because you don't want to do that yourself. Like those are the type of things, that self-awareness is what I would be asking for as you come to us.
Awesome. All right. So let's talk now about the differentiators and when you think, and Ray, I'll ask you this first since Sean went first last time. What are the key differentiators between a technology partnership or integration, or let's call it an alliance, and what I would call a real strategic alliance?
Yep. No, great question. Before I go on, I just want to let Scott know that we're very self-aware, Scott. We've done our work, right? So we know where we are, and we feel pretty good about ourselves. So I just want to let you know that Tenables.
Love working with you guys. You guys are great. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no, you guys are great as well. For me, at least for my team, what we have over 300 integration. So we have built, or that our third-party partners have built. It's over 165 partnerships. Those are the sort of the tactical integrations that help our customers do their jobs better and help remove friction in the sales cycle for my sellers. Because we go into an account, we got to make sure that we're shimming into the existing tech stack, right? So that's sort of table stakes for any sort of relationship. Where it goes strategic, for my team at least, is when we trust each other enough to go do joint demand gen, to go introduce each other to our joint prospects and customers. And we think that there's enough market gravity, both in what they do and what we do, and enough synergy between the two things that we do, that it warrants that additional level of resources to really try to drive that joint value prop on a more strategic level. And it really comes down to trust and resource allocation from my point of view.
Good. Sean?
We're pretty similar on this one. I think the only things I would change about Ray's answer would be we tiered out our alliance pyramid. Everyone has their version of this somewhere in their org hidden in the slide deck. But we tiered out our pyramid to be the base level, so just an integration, like table stakes, kind of back to Scott's point. Like, okay, great, you have an integration, awesome. And sometimes that's all that matters to that partner, whoever that is. Like they just want to be able to integrate, and we're going to pull in that telemetry to our platform, and we're going to be able to enrich and parse and do all that work for the customers of that vendor, whoever that is. And then others, like they have multiple integrations with us. So I think of like the Palo Altos or the Ciscos of the world. Like they have multiple products. They've been investing in their product line for over a decade, and they've really built out a pretty powerful solution stack. Those guys go into a tier we call managed. And then for strategic, we start to try to get a little bit more sticky on the roadmap. So we try to, if we really are going to be strategic, then we want to understand, like, have you looked with your product managers, you being whatever go-to-market partner we're trying to do this with, have you looked at your roadmap and identified gaps that you aren't going to solve, that you are willing to partner to solve? Can we get that strategic? That's where we want to go. We don't always get there, but that's where we want to go. So when we talk about strategic, we want to solve something unique to the market that both companies have agreed we aren't going to solve ourselves, because it just doesn't build it and it doesn't make sense to buy it. In that case, those are amazing partnerships and they really flourish. So not everyone is like that, but that's where we like to kind of push the bar so that we know we're
Yeah. It's interesting. The Association of Strategic Alliance Professionals, who has also seen a resurgence in their members and this but pharma is very similar to that, where they partner at a very deep level in the healthcare and the pharmaceutical industry. It's not just the tech industry that has these very sophisticated relationships, although I would say our two are the two biggest, most complex ones. Scott, why don't you comment? Anything you would talk about technology versus strategic?
When I go into many partner QBRs, and there's always this slide that says, hey, here's our technology integrations, and it's this massive logo slide, and there's in Ray's slide 300 of those on there, and what I see work well is when we take those and we say, all right, 300 is great, and again it gives you the robustness of the technology, but pick one where you're better together story, and you're at the same maturity curve as that partner as well, so that we can now go to market together with the joint marketing, the joint demand gen, joint prospecting, sell the story together of Optiv plus A plus B, and both sides are pulling equal weight. I think that's the key to activating these. And it's not, let's do 10, let's do one. And then when we do the one, like that's the campaign for first half of the year. Second half, we'll do the other one, or we'll repeat it if we're just seeing so much pipeline come through. So I've seen just the best practice of just picking the one. Your better together story. And then what I could do, we have our propensity to buy data, given our 10,000 customers over the last decade of being Optiv. We can look at that relationship and say, hey, here are customers where I have, partner A, but not partner B. And there's a propensity to buy motion for you. Let's go unlock that. And that's a new logo motion for the other, and vice versa.
That's great. Anybody else? Any comments on anything before we jump into time?
Both Scott and Sean are spot
on. I know it's so. Go ahead, Sean.
I was just gonna say, I'd only add, to Scott's point, we use Crossbeam, and that's been phenomenal for kind of just adding a little bit more to what Scott's saying. We can work with we only have a couple alliance partners that we've decided to go to market with that are strategic. There's a list of about 9 out of all of our integration partners, back to kind of Scott's point. But with those, many of them are on Crossbeam, and we can quickly correlate in the field to where we have opportunities, where there's joint customers, within reason when our terms and MSAs allow it. But that just cuts the noise out, and it creates a much more efficient alliances sales cycle with the partner community, because they can know, for example, if Scott wanted to sell Tenable and Arctic Wolf and Mimecast, for example, and all 3 of us are on Tenable, all 3 of us are on Crossbeam, then we can quickly correlate that data and get it to his field to create some activities that make sense for the sellers. Because one of the common complaints I feel like we get from sales is, I already know everyone. I don't need your help. I know the people. I've been working sales for 10 years, but they're pretty often surprised when they see the list and they realize, oh wow, Ray's team is in here. I didn't know, and Scott's team is in here. That's awesome. So just for whatever it's worth, that really helps.
Yeah, I want to echo that, because I think Crossbeam does a fantastic job of, Sean, that was a great example. Partner Tap is another one that does this work. And then when we were going to add now the hyperscaler question in, and a lot of times Optiv or Carahsoft or TD SYNNEX may have that propensity to buy and have their own system and pull all of this data together. So this concept of using one of these account matching dating software applications and having your Scott Gorey of the world, we're going to read Scott Gorey, Optiv, your TD SYNNEX, your Carrot, doing this propensity to buy and high growth opportunities, bringing that into the alliance is really good. Okay, hyperscalers. Let's talk about the impact the hyperscalers are making on this notion of strategic alliances. I feel this is one of the big drivers of why we're seeing such a resurgence of strategic alliances, because it's so complex. So who wants to start us off on this one?
Sean.
Oh boy, I was about to do this, but all right. I love, so when I started at Arctic Wolf 4 years ago, my job was to build the hyperscaler, the CSP alliance team. So I started building. I had worked with Microsoft before. I'd never worked with AWS, and Arctic Wolf is based on AWS. So I started building out the partner program there. Fast forward, we are a 3-time security partner advisory board member now for AWS. We're a differentiated partner, which is their top tier. But to the point of your question, it's interesting. It's really what I found with the hyperscalers is it's what you want to make of it. So if you decide as a ISV or as a channel partner or as a distributor that you want to figure it out, because you can't ignore it, because if we're all honest, you can't ignore it. You need a plan. So how far you want to lean in is kind of the question. And over time, we've, as a business, leaned in fairly heavily with AWS specifically, and they kind of meet you where you are. They come to you and they have different funding agreements and strategic investments that they can make to help you with your co-build, co-sell, and co-market story. But net, really the AWS motion with us helped drive velocity behind our alliance motion in general by giving it some life and giving it some action, where the other partners that we hadn't really figured out the flywheel, but with AWS we started to crack that flywheel, and that started to kind of trickle into other tech alliance partners wanting to do go-to-market motions with us because they saw us so active with AWS and they wanted to figure out AWS. So in a weird way, it actually accelerated our momentum with other tech partners, because they wanted to know what they didn't know, and that's maybe kind of smoke and mirrors, because there really isn't anything that you don't know, in a sense. It's just keep going. But that really helped to drive the rest of our program forward, and to this day it continues to drive the program forward. And now if you look at our alliance pyramid, almost all of our go-to-market partners, they just happen to also be very strong AWS partners, and we meet in the field all the time. And that works very well.
That's great.
If I look at the hyperscalers, Teresa, thanks Sean for going first. I think I was supposed to go next. I threw you to the wolves there, pun intended. I see it kind of two, and I'm going to ad lib here a little bit, Teresa. There's kind of two sides of the hyperscalers. It's that marketplace and co-sell motion, and then it's the native security stack that they're working on, and strong relationship with AWS and their native security, Google with their SecOps and Chronicle. Weaving that in. And it's so important to us at Optiv. I've carved out a part of my team, and they are called the Modern Channel. And so Modern Channel Evolution, led by a leader on my team, Mike Peters, they're responsible for three things. One is the hyperscaler relationships, both the marketplace transactions, which we're seeing every year grow triple digit. The MSP business, which is one of the fastest growing routes to market. So putting our capabilities in the go-to-market around that. So MSP was pillar 2. And then third is next-gen technology evaluation. Being a cybersecurity solution integrator, we see a lot of new partners at RSA. There's 1,000 new cybersecurity vendors created each year. Understanding the interesting ones. Who's the next big thing that would be acquired by one of the gentlemen in the room here with me? But understanding where those categories are going, and then as their portfolios expand, understanding the breadth and the whole platform stories of each of their technologies. So that modern channel piece, so critical. So I carved out an organization to manage it, and hyperscalers is kind of the lead pillar of that.
Is the lead pillar of it, and yeah, that's fascinating, right?
Yeah, the hyperscalers are, I think, incredibly important. We are also powered by AWS on the back end, so we have a very deep and wide relationship with them. The marketplace has been growing high double digits, or a couple of years of well in excess of triple digit growth, right? So it's still a very fast growing part of the business on the marketplace. We're a bit unique since we've been around for about 20 years, and so we've been, we started with a little thing called Nessus, and we moved to more of an enterprise set of products, and now we're doing an exposure management platform, right? So the company's evolved even in the 8 years I've been here, right? But it's evolved since its 20-year history. One of the things was pretty consistent, particularly the last 15 years, is 100% channel. And so we have a very strong, very global, very deep and wide two-tier distribution system. To net it out, AWS is very disruptive to the distribution partners that resellers around the globe purchase, right? So one of the things we've had to rationalize is how do we split the baby, as it were, or navigate this as best we can out of respect for those sort of legacy traditional partnerships we've had with distribution, as well as trying to meet our customers where they want to be met in the hyperscaler marketplace, right? Great news is Scott, the Optivs, and other folks of the reseller component of your business world jumped on board. We think we do over 90% of our transactions are CPPO through the marketplace, right? So we track that. It's something we're very focused on. So it's been interesting to try with our background to figure out how to move through this sort of disruption at the distribution level, as fair as we possibly can. So that's been one of the biggest things. On the co-sell side, that motion is very akin to a traditional tech alliance kind of motion, right? Neither party is necessarily exchanging margin or any sort of agreement where you're transacting the revenue through, but they're additive to the process. And so we manage the co-sell component similar to how we manage a traditional strategic tech alliance here on my team.
Great. Yeah, I think first of all, this co-sell motion, part of this strategic alliance is that co-sell motion has to get much deeper, much tighter, much more deliberate, much more transparent, and so Sean, and Scott, we're doing these co-sell initiatives to drive that, because the strategic alliance is fantastic as the product teams come together and the marketing teams come together and the financial business models come together, but then it meets at the street. And then if we keep going the old way, it falls apart because the old sellers sell in the old way. So I see a huge change there. And I think Ray did a great job of articulating that.
Yeah, Teresa, the only thing I would add is that conversation around the marketplace, that earlier we can put that in the sales cycle. I mean, I'm probably saying everything everybody knows, but the earlier that we have that conversation around, hey, should this deal go through a marketplace and a private offer, the more value we get. We get the faster deal, the larger deal, where you retire more customer committed spend. Like, we just have to have those conversations so much earlier in the cycle.
100%. And interestingly, one of our co-sell programs with Microsoft is different from the one with AWS because they operate differently.
Yeah.
And you have to play in the world that they're operating in, and getting them together at the very beginning of the sales cycle. So yes, I think you're spot on.
I think.
Okay. Anything else? Yeah, go ahead, Sean, please.
Oh, and I was just going to add one thing you're really helping a lot of ISVs to do as well is like this isn't a given, right? Like you have to, like this journey is long, like to get it convincing your company that this even makes sense, like trying to get headcount to run the relationship, understanding what it takes to run the relationship, the long game, because these are not quick. Like these are many years of hard work. And you guys have helped quite a few companies to understand what co-selling, what the end goal is, and how long it really takes. Because there's a lot of people that will just, frankly, just lie to you and say like, well, if you do this in 3 months, you're going to be up and running and you'll be making millions. And that's just not true. And it takes a long time. And you've done a good job of helping to cultivate this community, not just this little one, but like the broader community, to make sure that they understand what that is. So I just want to point that out.
Thank you. And I do, it is a long game. I think all of you understand that, and your CEOs understand that, which is so interesting because we're really starting to see the bifurcation of the CEO who gets these models at a much deeper level, the CFO, frankly, right? Versus the CEOs who are still doing it the old way, Yeah.
It's been a journey though. At first it was like, what are we doing this for? And I'm sure Scott and Sean, like at first people are like, what are we doing this marketplace thing? I don't think it's going to be much. And it's proven to be different, right? But that's part of what we do in alliances. I mean, I'll jokingly refer to myself as the new shit guy. Like if something new comes up, a lot of times my team are the folks that try to figure out if there's a there, and if so, how do we make it, something that's right. So, and that was how it started 7 years ago. At Tenable was, I don't know if it's not saying, but let's see. It's been an amazing journey to see how impactful it is to the marketplace and to Tenable now.
That's great. We take the new shit that you find, and then we'll make an operational flow to like the easy button on our side to say, all right, the first private offer is super painful. How does a good partner like Optiv create the easy button to say, hey, just make the offer, let's flow it through, make the process easy? Because when we saw the others kind of adopt more channel-friendly programs, it was a little painful in the process.
It's been a journey. We were born in the cloud, right? We were like some of the newer technology companies born in the cloud. It's sort of a natural motion. So we had a very strong legacy two-tier distribution channel. So it's been an interesting journey.
It's been, and in another conversation, we'll talk about the disties that are really embracing that, but that'll be another topic for another day. Okay, let's talk about metrics. And Ray, I'm a big fan of, when I first met you, your scorecard, and I think you guys each have a really unique story to tell around metrics. So how do we measure these? What does good look like? Let's talk about that. Who wants to go first?
Scott.
I was
going to volunteer Sean. I'm going to volunteer Scott.
I was going to riff off you guys. What's interesting, and I think I was going to talk about this a little bit later. Coming to this side of the channel was interesting. I thought it would be wildly different. First problem statement is we share the exact same problem statements. So it's very much the same coming to this side of the channel. But statement 2, we speak an entirely different language in terms of metrics. We're on TCV, like every deal matters, and gross profit. And our teams are motivated by selling both new technology, renewal, and services. Many of you some are on TCV still, some are on new ACV, some are on IACV, some are looking at renewal metrics in terms of in-quarter renewal or gross retention or net retention. So our language is completely different. And what we've had to become on this side is a bit of a Rosetta Stone of how do I turn what makes sense in my metrics in terms of gross profit and customer retention into what makes sense for you if you're on an ACV or an ARR metric. So we're trying to meet you where you're at, and that's kind of where I was going to talk about.
I think that's great, Scott. And by the way, that translates all the way to the street level, because the sales teams have to do that very same exercise, when they go to co-sell together or they go to partner. So I think that goes all the way across.
No, agreed.
Go ahead, Ray.
So I think for me, it all started with how do you instrument just your basic traditional tech alliances, right? I think having done this for longer than I'm going to tell you people, one of the big challenges is like, hey, we know it's valuable, but how do you prove that it's valuable, right? So I'm very proud of what the team's put together here at Tenable, and then we've been able to instrument the business better than I've ever been able to do so before, candidly. And I break it up, try to be quick. 3 pieces. There's product stuff, there's marketing stuff, and there's sales stuff. Those are the 3 big buckets of things of value that we track here at Tenable. On the product side, it's simple things like number of integrations, number of partnerships, number of integration releases, because we have a very strong self-service model. Out of the 300 plus integrations we have, the vast majority of those have been built and written and maintained by our partners, so that it's a very efficient use of capital for Tenable, and it allows folks to self-service. And we've got a bunch of tools that help them do that. But we do track those number of integrations, whether we build them or whether our partners build them. And then we track the number of customers using the integrations, which is hugely impactful, right? So when my CFO sees the number of enterprise customers that are using at least one integration, it's significant, right? And so he sees the importance. The next level is marketing. We track the number of activities. We talk about the pipeline that we build and or influence. We talk about the close one that we build or influence. And so we can track all that as well. And then what we do, because we know what customers are using the integration, we then, through a bunch of telemetry that we have, we then pump that data back into Salesforce so that it populates an inventory of what's at the account that we're aware of. So my sellers have the ability to know what other technologies are being used, like today, connected to their stuff, our stuff rather, that's in those accounts that we have for expansion opportunities or just basic knowledge, right? That also lets me tie that to the pipeline and then the closed one. And so we touch about a quarter of the bookings of the company, quarter in, quarter out, which is significant. So that has allowed me, then we obviously track the marketplace sell through, and we've got a bunch of other AWS specific metrics as well. So that allows me to demonstrate quantitative impact to the business, right? Which is, from a technology alliance standpoint, has always been, at least for me, the biggest struggle I've had.
Right. I think that's a big struggle still across the board with many vendors, is that I think you've done a great job, right?
The team has done a great job. I'm super proud of what the team's done.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Go ahead, Sean.
I mean, it was all me.
Of course.
I'm supposed to say that.
Naturally.
Hey, Vinny. Don't forget Vinny. Don't forget my friend Vinny.
As any good leader would. It's
Yeah,
That's right. That's right.
No, I mean, Ray's spot on. There's really not much to add to that. Like that's how I think people should be measuring. But for whatever it's worth, I'm kind of a nerd, and I wanted to be sure that I was going the right direction. So I called Datadog, I called CrowdStrike, I called Wiz, I called my peers at these companies, Okta, and I said, hey guys, look, every business measures a little differently, and it seems like every couple of years there's a new leader that wants to remeasure it a different way. So how are you doing it today? How did you do it before? What changed? And are you going to keep doing it this way? And I took pages and pages of notes from all these guys because I wanted to know, are we measuring it right? And what is right? It sounds a little overly philosophical, but like it's a genuine question. Like what does it mean? And what I was realizing as I was talking to these companies was, I don't know if you guys have read John Maxwell. I love his books, but he has this concept called the law of the lid. And conceptually, I'm probably butchering it, but like in the end, like I was realizing that it was really up to the leader to set the bar. Like, so it's up to Ray to set the bar and defend what influence means, what sourcing means, what go-to-market success is. And I was realizing at all these different companies that the bar that the leader set was as far as the team was able to go. So if the leader wasn't able to get the bar very high because he was facing heavy, or she was facing heavy pushback from the org on the definitions they were trying to set, they didn't succeed, or they didn't get very far, or their definitions were very heavily sales influenced or product influenced, and they didn't really have a chance to carve out a space for themselves. So that's all I'll add. I did a bunch of research, and we largely landed where Ray landed. We have a product component like around integrations as well. We have kind of a marketing and a component with field marketing, as well as with our demand team and our alliance and partner marketing team. And then we also have a straight up like co-sell goal, which is influenced ARR and sourced ARR from our different alliance partners. Most of that's bi-directional too, because if you get to that level of the tier, we think you deserve to have our attention as well, not just a one-way kind of dump of opportunities into us. So we try to make that work both ways.
That's fantastic, Sean. I think you guys have done a really great job at alliances. Go ahead,
It's easier with the Scots of the world, right? Because it's super easy, right? What did, how much did Optiv sell, right?
Right.
The rates, it's all very quantifiable. we can talk about what you did last year compared to this year,
Mhm.
channel in versus channel out. Like, so the
Mhm.
channel, I call it little C channel. That's not meant to be a demeaning term. Just it's one component of big C channel, right?
Mhm.
There a couple times, and it's just much more quantifiable in that traditional two-tier distribution model than it is in some of this other newer squishy stuff.
I think you're hitting on the crux of why we wanted to do this topic, because it is much more complex and it sometimes can be squishy, and you have to have new tools and new ways and new methods. And these strategic alliances, it has to go back to that kind of emotion in the modern day era. All right,
And no,
Scott.
you have to prove it. Like, last thing I'll say, I don't want to belabor the point, but if you can't prove it,
No.
I firmly believe that the reason I'm still in this seat 8 years into the job is because I can demonstrate tangible, quantifiable value.
1,000%. And I also believe, I was going to say this earlier, I finally see private equity and venture capital and, public company board organizations beginning to talk about partnerships and to talk about this as a force multiplier, where we were bad. It wasn't even a conversation 10 years ago, 5 years ago. So I finally see that beginning to change too.
You're seeing it, Teresa, you're seeing it in the hiring, like CROs we're seeing CROs come up that have a partner or channel background.
Good point.
And, we're seeing partner leaders like Tom Evans over at Cloudflare, chief partner officer, or Kim King as well, chief partner officers. I mean, that's a new trend, and I love to see the impact on the board of partnering.
Yes, I love it too. It's still early, but I can see we're heading in that direction. Finally. Since I was like 22, I dreamed of this, and it's finally happening. And I won't tell you how long ago that was. So
yeah, I'm stoked. I'm 22 now, so I'm excited to see what the future holds.
That's right. Okay, last question. Any internal, external resources? Any final thoughts on this whole topic around strategic alliances?
I think maybe I'll go first this time. I will say that one of the things that we talked a lot about is the value add and how important it is, and the benefits that these kind of things can bring. I will say that there needs to be a little bit of expectation management. I've had some conversations, thankfully not very often here at Tenable. We have very sophisticated, particularly on the sales side, leadership that understands this stuff. When I do a strategic alliance, I'm working with a strategic alliance partner. That partner is not going to stop whatever they're doing and try to sell my stuff.
Yeah, right.
Right. Like, so I think people need to understand that you got to spin the map around and look at it from the other side's viewpoint to understand that they've got their own job to do and their own products to market and sell, right? That they're not going to just rearrange their lives to do our bidding, right? And so I think there needs to be a degree of realism, and you've got to get that commitment from the other party. If you don't have that, it's almost impossible. And then you keep saying it, Teresa. I'll say it. I couldn't agree more with you. If it doesn't work at the field, it doesn't work.
It's so true. Sean.
I would say for groups, like for resources that you can find. So if you're here and you're watching this and you're thinking, oh, this is great, like we're building something, we don't know where to go, we don't know who to talk to. It'd be great if I had a Ray or a Sean or a Scott to call or a Teresa to call. First of all, like I think I'm not going on a limb here to say like all of us would take your call. We want to help you. Like we want to help you to kind of build your business up and kind of move around some of these obstacles that we've all had to avoid as we built our programs. I'm not promising their time, but I do think that all these people, like they're here because they want to share insights on how to do these things. So, but then adding to that, we have like a monthly meetup. I don't know how many people know where Rochester, New York even is, but Rochester, New York is a small city, but it's in upstate New York. And we meet, we try to meet once a month. We meet with some team members from, I guess AWS would call them like SIs that are in the alliances space. We also meet with other ISVs, like other alliance leaders, and then some sales reps too. We just try to better understand what's working, what's not working in alliances. Sometimes that's CSP specific. Sometimes that's not. Sometimes it's just tech alliance. But for whatever it's worth, that group has led to a lot of light bulb moments for me, even not even speaking necessarily like one-to-one with like my peers like Ray or Scott, but even speaking to others that are building or that are in the trenches or that are working on the next program. Just the insights on what's working. You don't really get that in your day-to-day sitting at your desk working with your own team. getting outside of that bubble a little bit can help quite a bit. So things like that. And then I know Teresa's been working hard to pull together different communities as well. And mine's just a little micro version of that, but she's been doing it at a really big scale. So I think groups like that are tremendous too.
Absolutely. Scott, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, what Ray said on we're motivating two disparate sales forces on two technology companies to care about something that they don't get paid on. And so that's the crux of the problem of how do you do that? Because salespeople are very coin operated. And so I think I mentioned it earlier, less is more. Let's pick the one together. And then where we get buy-in from their marketing team and their PR team and some sales campaigns, and if they can run spiffs against each other to help motivate those sellers to care, and then we show them the why. Why is that better together story going to unlock more value for you personally as a seller sitting in looking at your quota and your attainment and all of that. And then it helps us as well, because we'll join you in that fight to say, hey, the three of us, 2 alliance partners and Optiv, we can make this really noisy out there in the field and drive some pipeline together. So less is more would be my kind of call to action.
Yeah, agreed.
Wow, that's fantastic. Well, you guys were awesome. And incidentally, the Association of Strategic Alliance Professionals is actually updating the standard for the leaders who run these organizations and run these alliances, as well as the model for it. And it is cross-industry. So there's a lot going on in that space. They have certifications and stuff. So I would say that's another good alliance when it's really about this quality depth kind of motion.
Well, I never said anything about being held to a standard.
Yeah, we're holding you to a very high standard, my friend Ray, for sure. You guys were awesome. Yes, please don't hesitate to ask questions, send us follow-ups, and we'll be in touch. And thank you for joining me today. I appreciate your time.
Teresa, thank you for inviting us. I should have said that at the beginning. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
You are the best,
Ray.
Teresa.
Thank you. Thanks,
Bye.
guys. Have a great day.
Ciao. Take care.